Hey guys, welcome to Mackenzie and the Mind. This is the first ever episode of my new podcast, basically raising awareness for mental illness and suicide prevention. And this is just going to be a quick kind of explanation about my story and the person that I decided to have a guest star on this to talk to me about everything is one of my oldest friends. And her name is Kelsie. Hey, Kelsie.
Hey.
And I just kind of forced her to sit down and talk to me about this. But I felt like it was most appropriate because she's one of those people that really understands me. So for starters, I was recently diagnosed with bipolar 2 depressive disorder. I have struggled with depression my whole life. I've struggled with very low self-esteem, abuse. I was sexually abused when I was 14. A lot of things in my life kind of led up to a lot of sadness and depression. And besides that, I also have a chemical imbalance in my brain, which contributed to the way that I act and react to things now. So I'm not always the best person when it comes to handling things and emotions, but it all stems from a place of hurt and abuse, as well as not fully understanding my mental health. And that's because mental health was something that wasn't ever talked about in my household or in my school or in my environment as a child. I'm originally from Alexandria, Louisiana. I grew up in the Catholic school system, and there was never a discussion of depression or anxiety or even bipolar. And I always kind of knew that I had bipolar. I have multiple family members that suffer from it. But it wasn't until right after my 22nd birthday that I had attempted suicide for the second time that I finally was diagnosed as bipolar. And I also had been in the psych ward twice this past year, one for just one night, and the next time it was 60 hours. I was let out early. I guess good behavior, I don't know. But I have learned a lot about mental illness, and I think the issue is we don't talk about it enough. So there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, and there's just a lot of things that need to be talked about, and that's what this podcast is for. And initially I was going to do a video version of it, but I think listening to it is more powerful. So that's kind of my story in a quick summed up version. And if you guys want to hear a more condensed version about certain things about when I attempted suicide and things like that in high school, I may do another episode on that. But I really wanted to just get into it and talk to other people about what's going on. So this is Kelsie.
Hi.
And Kelsie and I went to Catholic school together. We pretty much have been in
since the 4th grade. We've been friends since the 4th grade.
I think it was 4th grade that we really became friends.
Yeah.
When we told some kid that Britney Spears was outside.
Yeah.
I think that was the moment that we decided we were friends. Because we were
both like, yeah, we got him. He ran out there to go get her autograph, and he was like, I don't see her.
Yeah, we were like, Britney Spears is outside. Go see.
Totally went for it.
So yeah, it's we had a really interesting friendship over the past however many years.
What, 13?
13 years? Yeah. I cancan't do math, but
it'd be about 13.
Yeah, it's been
a long time. It's like half our life, over half our life.
Well, and it's interesting too because we're both Geminis, which
yes.
So a lot of the times
butt heads.
Yeah, we butt heads.
Sure.
That's what I was about to say.
For sure, there's been ups and downs, but
yeah, and I think that's also because we both have our own struggles and we've never really talked about it.
Yeah, but it was never talked about growing up, so
yeah,
you just kind of pushed it to the side or
because
didn't talk about it.
If someone was any different, they were psycho, they were crazy, they were
shunned upon pretty much.
Yeah, think about the people that we thought were crazy because they were overly emotional or dramatic, and everyone knew I was dramatic, but theater was my excuse.
Yeah, it was your outlet.
Yeah. So what do you remember any, I guess warning signs, I guess you could say, as a kid, like what do you feel like you struggle with now in your life? Like what's kind of, do you feel like you suffer from mental illness or?
Depression and anxiety for sure have always played a big part in it. I think it really, with the anxiety and depression, I think it probably my junior year of high school, I had transferred from the Catholic school that we went to a public school, and it was like a culture shock. And bigger class sizes. I didn't know where anything was. I didn't know anybody. And I had a panic attack my first day. Had a nosebleed and like passed out.
That's crazy. You just had a nosebleed because
I used to have nosebleeds all the time, but it was like when I got super anxious and stuff, it would like cause them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So your body would like react.
Yeah, it didn't end well. And it was like I got blood everywhere.
So what did you do? You went home?
I went home that day and went straight to my doctor, actually, and he prescribed me Zoloft, which was an anti-anxiety, antidepressant, and I started taking that, and I probably took it for about a year and a half. But I mean, after I took it for so long, I felt like just numb to everything, and I wanted to feel, I just didn't want to be sad.
Right.
So I weaned myself off and stopped taking it. So yeah, I stopped taking it, and I just kind of went with it in life, and just, was just trying to figure it out by myself, which in the end didn't work. I was still depressed and everything, and I tried a lot of different kinds between that. Actually, recently in the last 2 years, I took like Trintellix, and that made me like nauseous. Like I couldn't stand it. It would make me like violently ill.
What is that?
That's an anti-anxiety and depression. It's a new one though, so it was like kind of trial and error. They were just like, it might make you sick. You might not react well to it, and it was not. I could not take it. And so after that, I was just like done. I was like, I'm not trying anything else. Like I don't want to be sick and sad and have all these things on top of each other. So, I mean, since then, I know that it's still there, and I just haven't found like the right medication to take to help it and battle it. So I get in these moods where I'm just like stuck and depressed, and I just can't do anything, can't get out of bed. I force myself to go to work every day, and that's hard enough. But I mean, at home, I'm just like in bed, like, don't talk to me.
So you experience, like, with your depression, do you experience like a lot of anger?
Yeah, I'm very irritable, very.
Like that comes with the depression.
Oh yeah, for sure. My mom would just be like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so angry?" And I'm just like, I don't know. Don't talk to me.
Do you feel like this stems from something? Like, do you remember a point in your life when you first started experiencing this?
Yeah, when I was younger, probably, middle school, 5th and 6th grade maybe, just changing out for, like, PE and stuff. Like, my body, I wasn't happy with it. And, like, I mean, even then, like, it upset me just to even, like, see myself. Like, that, I distinctly remember, like, not looking in mirrors for a long time.
Oh, wow.
Like, just could not look at myself. And, like, still I find myself doing that. And, like, I have to, like, make sure, like, I force myself to do it just because I'm like, I have to accept, who I am and what I look like, and not, let that run my life and be scared of it or anything or upset with it. And then after that, I mean, just the whole high school thing, transitioning from a Catholic school to a public, that was, a lot to take in. Thank God I got out on early release, so I didn't have to stay all day, because that was miserable. And then starting college was, I mean, I lived at home still and went to college, but, like, even then, there was so much going on, and, like, such a big, a big campus for me to walk around and, try to find classes, and I was just like, I couldn't do it, so I, dropped out first semester, didn't go back. And then, I moved around, and I feel like that helped me because I was, like, getting out of my shell. I was forced to learn a whole new city. And
like twice.
Yeah, twice, to Lafayette and then to Austin, Texas. And I mean, both of them were amazing places. And I in the end, wanted to go home. I wanted to be close to my mom because she grounds me. She helps me a lot. And I know I've put her through hell, but she's helped me through a lot. And she has depression as well. And I know she's battled with that and has her ups and downs, and we figure it out together. So I think she really helps. for sure.
That's awesome that you guys can mirror each other and have someone else going through what you're going through. I can't relate to that from a family perspective. I mean, my mom has depression and thyroid disease, but then like my sister, it's a little different because she was diagnosed bipolar, but she's not really bipolar, you know what I mean? Like she was diagnosed during a really bad teen angst time, and I never really had someone in my family that I could go, okay, like going through what at the same time and having that grounding. And my mom is great and is very helpful and grounding too, but it sucks when it's, it's just, I completely understand. I remember when we had PE together, we never had like any classes together in junior high. No.
Me and Josie always had classes together.
But we didn't because
it was like the best class if we had it together though.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember.
I can't remember any class we had together other than
Becker.
PE. Oh, we did.
And it was
everybody was in that class.
Gabby.
Yeah, it was civics.
Yeah, civics.
I was like, is that the right word? Yeah, I remember that. That was fun. But I remember in PE how I never wanted to do PE because I'm not active. But
I hated it.
I remember so many times, I can think of like 5 times off the top of my head that you
had a panic attack,
had full blown panic attacks, and would leave.
I could not handle it. I mean, it was just like there was one time when I was dating that guy, and something happened with it. I don't even remember what happened, but we were in PE and we were outside by the track, and I was just like, that was it. I couldn't breathe. It just all the air just goes out of you. And I was just trying to catch a breath, and I couldn't. And I remember talking to Will Barton about it one time because we used to always talk on the phone, and I talked to him about my anxiety and my panic attacks, and he was just like, I don't understand, why. And I was just like, I can't even explain it to you.
I didn't understand either.
I still can't to this day explain to you why. I would just my brain was overloaded. It had to shut off and reboot.
Do you think it was triggered by something, or do you think you just...
I think I don't know, family-wise growing up, it wasn't always a happy household. I had a big family, so being one of the younger ones, I got looked over. I was kind of in the middle. I was the 4th out of 5 kids, so I was, looked over a lot.
You're kind of raised as a middle child, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because there was such a big gap between me and the older 3 siblings. So, and, my dad was an alcoholic and just a mean drunk, and he still is to this day. And my mom worked nights, so she wasn't there to see it half the time. And,
right.
I didn't have someone else there to, back me up or, protect us from him when he was, on one of his binges. And so I think that I don't know, I think it made it worse maybe, or maybe that's what it all stems from. It's just being scared as a kid. And, and then I do remember my brother always had a nickname for me when I was little, and it was Old Chubs. Because I was I was a chubby little kid,
that's crazy, because I remember you being not big at all.
I remember I have a picture of me in the 3rd grade, and I looked so fat. I hated it. I hated that
crazy.
Picture. And my mom loved it, and I had it everywhere, and I was just God, take that picture down. I hate it. And that's probably where my body issues came from, just not being happy, and self-esteem for sure. From him calling me names, but I mean, he was my big brother, the only boy in the house, and other than my dad, and he had nothing else to do but pick on us.
Right.
That's what brothers do.
But it contributes.
But it did. It did
for
sure contributed towards my body issues that I have.
And so, do you think that maybe some of your anxiety stems from that, or do you think it's something you were born with?
I think,
or kind of both.
Probably both. I think my anxiety, it really only gets bad in social and interactions where there's just a lot of people, and I just don't know what to do, and I just like freak out, and I'm like, all right, well, let me look at my phone, because that's like the only safe thing to do at this point. Even at work, I push myself to kind of come out of my shell, because I mean, I work with, you know, the community, or, you know, that I'm in, and with people, and customer service is such a big thing. So, you know, you have to have a
Well,
smile on your
yeah.
face 24/7. So
And what you do is really important.
it's hard most days. And
Right.
I've had a lot of people tell me I'm doing a great job, and I'm just like, thank God, because I'm so terrified I'm not.
Right. Well, because on the inside, you're probably extremely critical of yourself.
Oh, yeah,
And that's
for sure.
that stems from, you know, childhood and
Yeah.
just getting over it. Like, and it's crazy how, you know, the older you get, the more these issues when you're little kind of start manifesting.
But it makes sense. You know, you look at it now as an adult, and you're just like that. You know, you piece it together, and you're like, wow, it's crazy that you go through all these things, and it's never a big deal until, you know, you think about it later on in life, and
Right.
that's why you probably feel the way, or you are the way that you are now, just from little things that can happen when you're younger. I know that I think I gave up a lot too for my little sister. I did soccer for a long time, and I gave that up because she wanted to start doing gymnastics, and it was like a money thing.
Yeah, that's what I was
you
going to
know,
ask. Yeah.
so I gave up soccer, which was like my favorite thing. Like,
Yeah.
I loved soccer. That was like my outlet.
I remember.
You know, I don't have to talk to anybody. I can just, you know, get all of my energy out on one thing, focus on one thing. And I gave that up. I mean, the main reason I left Catholic high school is because you know, it was money. It costs a lot of money to go to a Catholic high school, you know, and went to a public school to save money. You know, I didn't ask for anything growing up. I never asked for, like, you know, when Christmas rolls around, you know, your parents want to, you know, get you stuff, but I would, you know, what do you want? Nothing, you know, you can just get me like essentials, you know, little things that, you know, I need here and there.
Right.
That's all I've ever asked for. And so my little sister could have more, or my niece and nephew can have more now, and, you know, so I think
That's incredibly selfless and important.
and you know, you want to get like, you just want to have someone like recognize that, just to be like, you know, thank you for doing it. I mean, and that sounds so like bad, I guess, at the
Right,
same time.
you're not.
You don't want to make it a big deal, because I don't ever make it a big deal.
Right.
But still, like,
You get burnout.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
just
it's
giving
like,
up so much.
You're not doing this to get, you know, reassurance. You're doing it because it's all you know. Because
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, like, you feel like you're not worthy enough to have, you know, a MacBook laptop and you know, get all the things that your other siblings got and get. And I think when you're struggling alone and not, and I don't know about your other siblings to the extent of mental illness, but, you know, having what you have, it is hard to understand, especially in a town like a small town in Louisiana, and
yeah,
people don't get it. It's not taken seriously. And I like I said, like, I remember so vividly multiple times you just hyperventilating, and I remember I learned that word from you, because you would always be like, I'm hyperventilating, and I never knew what it meant. And then you know, it's funny, every time I say that word, I think of you, because I remember you.
Every time I hear the word intricate,
I think of you. It's because he told me what the word intricate means.
because you had no idea.
Well, because you always use big words, and it pissed me off. I was like, stop. You make me look stupid.
I don't know what that means.
But with you hyperventilating, with you hyperventilating and stuff, I just remember you just missing PE, and it was so easy to sit there and go, yeah, like, it was so easy to sit there and go, oh, Kelsie just wants attention, or Kelsie doesn't want to be here.
It was so terrible, and I knew people probably thought about that, and, you know,
we didn't understand.
But yeah, I mean, it's not something that I understood at that point, and I was so young. I felt like my mom thought that too. You know, she just wants to get out of school. But I mean, after I had my gallbladder surgery, I would call her in first hour and be like, check me out, I want to go home. And like, that's when I had first, like, a month into being in the new school at Ash, I had that gallbladder surgery. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I missed another week of school after already missing like a week and a half transitioning from one school to the other. And that made it even harder, because like, I had missed so much in all my classes. I had to catch back up again. And
you're that one girl that just had surgery.
I mean, I had people walking up to me asking me if I was pregnant, because with the gallbladder surgery, they pump air into your stomach because it's laparoscopic. And so it stays extended, the gas that they put in there, it stays extended for, up to a month until it finally just dissipates.
Right.
And so I wear sweatpants to school every day instead of school pants. And they were always like, "Oh, were you pregnant?" And
That's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
"No." Like, yeah. And that made me feel even worse about myself because I have these body issues. And I'm just like, no, like, I have, issues. I have stomach problems. It's not anything I could have, stopped if I could have.
With your dad having alcoholism and, with addiction, I firmly believe addiction is a disease and it is very genetic. My dad,
I definitely struggle with it for sure.
My dad was an addict and I've struggled with that too. And I'm sure at some point you found a way to self-medicate.
Oh yeah.
To just numb your brain. And a lot of people don't understand that about addiction or even just self-medication, even if that's weed.
You just want to get high to make the thoughts stop, at least,
right.
Just for a minute, if it was just for a second.
You can go to sleep and just not think about it.
Not think about it, to just make it all just end. That was a big thing for me, because I started drinking at like 14.
Yeah.
Because my dad, the whiskey would just sit out on the kitchen table. So, after he went to bed, it was, a nightly routine. I would go in there and start drinking his whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that just,
Did you drink, you drink a lot alone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, it would be like a school night.
And so why would you do that?
Well, when we were in the 7th grade, my grandma died.
I remember,
from breast cancer. And
it was weird because my grandfather had died like a month after.
Yeah, a month after.
And you and I both went through that at the same time.
For sure. And I think that's when I really started. I was like, there has to be something. Mm-hmm. And then hearing Kelsie, whenever Kelsie was, she was there because it was spring break when she passed away. And I think hearing all of her stories, about how she would go out and get messed up, and I was just like, well, she's finding a release. Like, maybe I can, that I can do that, and it'll make me feel better. And so I would, I started drinking, and it definitely made me feel better. I know it probably wasn't really good. I was 14 years old. It wasn't.
But it was something.
And then, God, I don't even remember when I started taking, pain pills.
Was it around the surgery time or before?
No, it was before. Because I had a oral surgery for my mouth, for a tooth or something, and they gave me Darvocet for the first one, and then I had to have another one after, and I got Loratab. So I had pills stocked up. I would go back and say I'm still having pain, and they would just write another prescription, because I was so young and they didn't think, oh, she's gonna have, she has an addiction. She's they believed me. Yeah, they believed me because I was a kid.
Right. That was years ago too. So
oh yeah, I was probably 16.
Down on that.
Yeah, I was probably 16,
and it numbed and you probably really.
Oh my God, it was the best. I'm not condoning that,
but yeah,
it was my way of just floating away, just getting away from everything. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Kelsie is Kelsey's cousin, who they were very close with. We actually all were within a week apart of birthdays.
You and me are 9 days apart, and me and Kelsie were 7.
And I was 2 days apart from her. She was born 2 days after me, so we were all the same age. I met Kelsie when I was in the 5th grade, because Kelsie did the Nutcracker.
Yes.
And me and Kelsie.
It's a ballet.
Yeah, it's it's a nutty show, no pun intended.
It really is. It was crazy.
But we, Kelsie and I had met for the first time. We were about 10, and I remember, and I was fairly shy with people growing up. So meeting her, I remember just being so taken back by how quick we clicked.
Yeah.
She had me laughing on the floor.
She was amazing.
And years after that, I stayed so close in contact with her, in high school at least. And every time she would come in for Easter, Thanksgiving, I would make a point.
When I came in town.
Yeah, I would make a point to go to your house and see her.
At least once, yeah.
Yeah. I remember her older sister told me to shut up, and I didn't.
No one likes Randy.
Randy did not like me.
She was mean. She still is.
Yeah. Some people are just really mean, but Kelsie is just a remarkable person, and you can probably explain her a little bit better than I can.
She was my best friend like, we had every birthday together.
Yeah.
And that was, like, a big thing. Like, they would come in town because they lived, like, 5.5 hours away in Fort Worth. And, I mean, I just remember every birthday we had together. It was always a swimming birthday next door at the Kelsie Hall. And, I mean, there's pictures of us when we were, like, 1 for our first birthday. I mean, every year it was a big deal. And that was my best friend my whole life. And, she ended up getting pregnant. How old was she? 16?
I guess 15.
15.
She was 15. 15, and then I think she had the baby when she was 16.
She was 16, yeah. Emery, it was her name. And
I remember Casey asking us when we were sitting in the camper one time. She was like, "Are you guys sure I should name my kid Emery? You sure it doesn't sound like a British man trying to say Emily?" And we were like, "No, Emery's cool."
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a picture of me, like, with my hand on her stomach, like, smiling. It's so weird. She was pregnant as fuck, but
she was all about it. I remember her telling us at Alyssa's birthday. Was that you or Josie?
I wasn't there.
It was Josie then, because we were hiding out back, and she was smoking a cigarette, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "I'm pregnant," and we were like, "What? You're pregnant?"
Oh, wow.
Like, she was like, "Yeah, no one knows yet," but she had, like, ultrasounds pictures in her
Did
purse.
her mom know?
No,
Nobody knew.
She went to a health clinic, like a free health clinic, and
I
found
didn't know
out.
that.
Yeah. And I mean, eventually everyone found out, but
right. There's a point to all of this. Casey is extremely important to this story.
Yeah. So when, let's see, it was probably around her third or after her third birthday. Emery's birthday.
So Casey had the baby and the father wasn't involved.
Yeah. He didn't, like, want any part of it, and then he ended up moving like up north somewhere.
And he just ran off. He
Yeah,
wasn't
I mean,
relevant.
at one point she said that he had murdered somebody and, like, had a warrant out for his arrest or something. I don't
I'm
know what
not
that. I think
surprised.
he's in jail still. So
Yeah.
But she struggled a lot with drugs and depression and anxiety. And
Wasn't she diagnosed bipolar?
I think so. Yeah, pretty sure she was. And
she had a lot of anger.
She did. She was angry, but she was raped several times.
By a boyfriend or just randomly?
I think the first time was a random person or someone she might have known, but, you know.
So that kind of tipped her off the edge.
Yeah. And, like, her and the guy that she had the baby with, she told me a story one time that, you know, they got super drunk. They drank, like, a whole gallon of whiskey, and, like, it was like a glass bottle. And she picked it up and just smashed it over his head. Like, they would fight. And
violent.
She would fight her mom over little things. And, I mean, she just had a lot of anger, and I mean, it just came from, you know, she was raped and everything. And then, you know, that stemmed to her, you know, drinking and, you know, partying and doing a lot of drugs. She took a lot of ecstasy, acid,
and LSD, things
a lot
like
of.
She was
LSD.
very experimental.
She was, yeah. Weed was like her medicine. That was what helped her, and it did. It made her feel a lot better. I mean, she was on a lot of different medicines. So, I mean, eventually it caught up with her, and she ended up starting doing, like, you know, heavier stuff. She started doing meth. And then, you know, fast forward a few years, you know, she's super skinny. It was,
like, bone skinny, like
she
not
weighed like
even
90
100 pounds.
She weighed 97 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's when she went to the sober living facility in Florida. And she was there. She was going to be there for a month.
Well, didn't she specifically want to go
She wanted,
there?
yeah, because she knew someone that was there.
Okay.
It was her friend Michael.
Okay.
And she goes down there, and it was like 3 weeks into it, and her family came and visited with Emery, her daughter, her boyfriend at the time, Nathan, and her parents. And they had a great time. They went to the beach. They went out to eat. I mean, she just seemed so happy. She said, "I've gained 10 pounds. She said, "I know what I want to do with my life. I want to do art therapy, you know, for people who struggle with, you know, the depression and stuff. And it's, you know, to help them release, you know, in art and everything." And, well, then, like, the next week, she was supposed to come home. It was a few days before she was supposed to come home. And the guy that she was rooming with brought in...
Her friend that she knew.
Yeah, Michael, brought in heroin. And she tried it with him, and they got high. Well, he went to sleep, and she did more. And the next morning he woke up and she was face down in the bed. She passed away. She had overdosed.
Just dead.
Just dead. And I remember getting the call because my Aunt Shannon actually called my mom's phone or my phone. She called me. She couldn't get in touch with my mom because she was asleep. And she was like, Casey's dead. And I was just like, no. It's like, what? Like, just taken aback. Like, I couldn't, my mind was like, I can't process this right now. And I went to my mom and I was like, you have to talk to her right now. I said, I can't. And so my mom wakes up and she starts talking to her, and I'm just like, I'm shaking uncontrollably. Like, I could not figure out what to do. And my mom's like talking to her, and she was like, what happened? You know, oh my God. I just hear her talking to her on the phone, and I don't know what's really being said. I just know that she's dead. And I mean, that's my best friend. And
that's your sister, really?
Like, yeah, we were, and I felt so bad because I shut her out for a long time because I was angry with her because, you know,
trying to teach her a lesson.
I was like, I'm going to shut you out, and until you get your stuff together, you know, we can talk then, you know.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be tough love, but in the end, it hurt me because I missed out on, you know, the last year or two of her life.
Right.
Because I didn't want to be a part of it. And not if she was going to be like that. And I know she wanted help, and she struggled with it, and I know she wanted to, you know, ask for help, but she just didn't know how.
When it's insane that you are able to get heroin in a sober living facility.
It was more like it was just like a home.
Just a place.
It was just a place for them to go. It wasn't like heavily monitored.
That's crazy.
They did drug tests, but it was mainly just for like weed. You know, it wasn't really...
Well, weed's the thing you shouldn't have to be testing, you
right,
know?
Yeah. That was... God, she still smoked there. She didn't care. You know? And there's a theory that my uncle, her dad, was telling me. He was like, you know, they feed them... They let them do these drugs, and they're just using it to make money off of them, to keep them there longer, to make them think that they need help.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, he was like, I think there was something wrong with that place, and we should have researched it more. We should have trusted that guy that told her, oh yeah, come on, it's,
right,
you know. And he's still alive, he's fine.
And you don't think maybe she premeditated that, like she had planned that, like, I'm gonna go out there and...
She was so happy when they came to see her. She was doing art therapy with that facility, and like she realized that's what she wanted to do. Like she was gaining weight, she was happy about it. It was just
a freak accident.
She just did too much, and it took over. And that's not the first time I've dealt with someone passing away from a heroin overdose. My best friend Camille actually passed away on February 12th from a heroin overdose.
Here in town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the city park in town. And she just, they found her, and they, you know, did the Narcan and, you know, revived her and everything, but it took too long, and she was brain dead already, so they ended up pulling the plug 2 days later.
Do you know if she struggled from anything?
She smoked weed a lot too, and she did have bad anxiety and depression, like bad. And she self-medicated with like Xanax and stuff because she couldn't afford to go to a doctor. She didn't have a job. Mm-hmm. And like I remember I took her to her job interview at a casino, and like she got the job and everything, and I asked her like a few days later, you know, after she was supposed to start, I was like, how's it going? And she was like, I didn't go. I quit already before I started. And I was like, well, what? God. I was like, what happened? She said, I am so depressed and have so much anxiety. She was like, I couldn't force myself to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so she definitely struggled with that.
And so then the heroin, yeah.
Yeah, and from what I learned after she died, that she had been doing it, and I just didn't know. And she used to call me her little sister, the sister she always wanted, because she was an only child. Yeah. Or no, she had like an older brother or something, I think. But they didn't talk. Her and her mom didn't talk. Her dad, you know, none of her family talked to her. She was alone here, had nobody. And she just struggled with it. Oops. It was hard for me to watch. And she called me her little sister, and I mean, we did a lot of stuff together. She would make me feel so much better about myself. Mm-hmm. You know, she'd be like, you're beautiful. You know, just out of nowhere, she'd just be like, you're so sweet and you're beautiful.
Just a really good light in your life.
She meditated, she did yoga,
she was trying.
She was, busting her ass trying to be happy and trying to find her way through life. I mean, she was way older than me. She was like 28 when she died. So, I mean, she had some years on me, but she was just so, like, you could see how unhappy she was with where she was and how much she wanted to do in life and how she couldn't,
little she got to.
Yeah. It was so sad.
And
I
then-
was at work that day, so I couldn't even go and see her in the hospital. I didn't see her before they pulled the plug. And then the day of her funeral, they cremated her, but I couldn't force myself to do it. And I felt so bad, but I was like, I can't go. I couldn't do it.
It's that part of closure that sometimes you just don't want. You just don't need.
Nope.
And the reason I ask, about all these drug things, I think a lot of drug users, and I say users, not addicts, but drug users, want to slow down their mind. They want to slow down what's happening on the inside.
Thoughts that come through and just
especially if
eat
you're
away at
suicidal.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is with Kelsie, especially, if Kelsie did in fact have bipolar, and I hate to say this, but with bipolar, you can't treat that
It's
with
one to the next. It's one emotion or the other.
you
it's
have
quick.
you have to find a right legal sort of cocktail. I've had so many people tell me just go run, go exercise, you'll feel better, and I'm just like,
that's not always the
you.
case.
Like,
I mean, there's some people that can do that, but it's not the case for everybody.
It's not the case, especially if you're someone like me that has a slow metabolism and doesn't like working out.
Yeah, me too.
But also it's aggravating because like these people that are, experimenting with drugs and self-medicating, there's a bigger picture, and nobody wants to see that. They want to arrest someone with heroin use. They want to, blame it on this, blame it on that. And, family and your nurture, so to speak, of growing up will have a lot to play into how you act as an adult and the choices you make. But with bipolar, and I love Kelsie, and I wish I would have talked to her in the last year that I knew her. I mean, we always liked each other's stuff on Facebook, but that doesn't go a long way. But
same for me.
It's so crazy.
It was a Facebook relationship, but we didn't speak.
Right. Every time I look back on like the On This Day app, it'll say like, oh, Kelsie liked this, and it's just crazy. And with Kelsie, if she had bipolar, like she was obviously medicating that with meth and other things like, and I don't know, she's not here, so I can't ask her. But
I agree though. I think that's what she was doing. Weed was the main thing that she was.
Well, and my thing was, what I was gonna say about weed is, people with bipolar, smoke weed, and no, that doesn't help.
No.
It doesn't help everybody. Not everybody with bipolar has anxiety.
Yeah.
Weed doesn't solve all of your problems.
It doesn't.
And there's a lot of weed out there that is just, especially here in Louisiana, not being legal. There's in Texas
laced with things.
It's laced.
I mean,
it's not pure.
They have. I mean, it's heroin in the weed now. Like there's
it's
like
insane.
little things like that.
Because you can smoke heroin. There are ways different. I loved Kelsie. I did, and I always knew she struggled.
I'm glad that you got to meet her and know her.
Yeah,
because she was such a beautiful person and such an inspiring person. She had her moments.
She was a gypsy. Yeah,
we were just for sure.
She's beautiful.
Awesome.
The last time I saw her was when I was dressed up as Princess Ariel.
Yeah.
And I jumped on the trampoline with Emery and pretended.
Because I told you, I was like, you have to come over. It's her birthday.
Yeah.
She loves princesses.
I know.
Ariel's her favorite. We were like,
she loved it. It was good.
We were scheming with you.
We got great pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've like any little kid in your family I have surprised as a princess.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, what's up? They're like, that's Mackenzie. Like,
we know who you are.
Like Alyssa.
Alyssa knew it.
Yeah.
She still to this day, she's like, yeah, your friend Mackenzie, but she like dresses up as Anna.
I'm gonna fight her.
Alyssa's
like 7.
She's gonna be in gifted classes actually.
She's a genius. She deserves it. No, this Kelsey's niece Alyssa, when I first started doing princess parties, the first Anna and Elsa frozen party me and my sister did was at Alyssa's house for Alyssa, and I guess she was turning 5. 4 or 5. And I remember she just knew it was me. Like, she played along, but like
she did.
She knew it was me, and like she's brought it up to me, and I'm like, Alyssa, that's physically impossible. There's no way.
There's no way.
Like, I've literally fought her about it. I'm like, stop starting shit.
Just believe that there's a princess out there, and
right.
That's not me.
I think, but back to the whole thing. I feel like not enough people are giving drug users the benefit of the doubt that they're, struggling with mental illness.
That's the reason why they're using, is because that's their escape. That's their,
and why are benzos prescribed? Benzos are prescribed for people with this severe anxiety, and then of course there's those people that abuse them, and then whatever. But and I'm one of them. I tried killing myself in June I took a lot of Xanax and slit my wrist, and thought that was a way to go. And
I remember when we were like 16, and we had gotten drunk at my mom's house or something, and you went and got in bed and you like cut your wrist.
See, it's so crazy. I remember you telling me that before, and I cut myself so much in high school that I don't even remember
all blends
that
together. But yeah, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not gonna do this."
And I wasn't sober. I was drunk.
No, we were drunk.
And I cut myself in your bathroom.
You were in my bed with your wrist just out, like
you were bleeding.
You were like asleep, and it was out. And I was just like, "What are you doing?" Like, I had to we bandaged you up. Me and my mom. Josie was there, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
You don't remember that?
No. See, it's selective memory.
That's such a distinct memory that I have, because I was just like, that's my best friend. Like, you're not doing this.
And see, that's what I love about my friends here in Louisiana, because my friends in LA, for example, like, I have this one best friend, and I love her, and supposedly she was going through stuff, but I had slit my wrist, and I grew out of that. I don't do it really anymore, but I grew out of it when I was in high school, but I started realizing how silly that was, and I was like, I'm a hypocrite if I keep doing it. I'm preaching all these kids to stop cutting themselves, but then I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And what happened was, before my 22nd birthday in May, after my birthday party, when I was home and stuff, I went back to LA, and something clicked off in my brain, and I ended up slitting up my wrist just bad, and Thomas saw it when he came to get in bed with me, and he freaked out, and he called my friend, who's my neighbor and also one of my best friends, and they went to Vaughn's, which is the grocery store that's right next door, and it's 24 hours, and they went and got bandages and stuff, and came up, and they cleaned it with rubbing alcohol or whatever, or hydrogen whatever. They cleaned it, and then they wrapped it up, and my friend that did it had no expression on her face, and it was almost like it was like routine for her. She just was like, yeah, I've been there before, I've done it, and just wrapped it up, and then just walked away, and had nothing to say. And later on, she blamed that on, she was going through her own stuff. But this is my same friend who I've seen. She's freaked out because she thought her classmate was pregnant, and was like, I have to go to the doctor with her, and was freaking out. And I'm like, you're freaking out over that, but I was trying to kill myself. And I don't think that time I was trying to kill myself, but I was lashing out on myself, and she didn't give a fuck. She was just like, oh yeah, like typical Tuesday, Mackenzie slitting her wrist sort of thing. And I'm just like, and I'm glad you bring up things like that from when I was younger and being here, because I'm never going to find the friends that I have met here. And even the friends I've met, like in theater at LC and things like that, the people I have met in this shitty town have my back and love me. And it's crazy that you even remember that story, because there's so many times that I have just hurt myself, self-mutilated, and then just walked away from it.
What's really crazy though, there's a lot of kids at these high schools that I go to. I'm a phlebotomist at a blood center in town, and I travel and go to like schools, churches, businesses, and stuff to do blood drives. And there's a lot of high schools that I go to, and these girls and guys and stuff, like, they'll go to put their arm out, and like all you see is just their wrist.
You see their scars.
Oh yeah, like everywhere. Like, there's been so many times where I just look at them, and I'm like, are you okay? Like,
do you ask them that?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm like, are you okay? And I'm like, is there anything, like, do you want to talk? Just little things like that, because like I know I've personally never cut myself. I think I'm too big of a weenie.
Well, no, I mean, your outlet was drinking.
I don't even like getting like a paper cut.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like
You're
breaking
either
my
for it or
nail,
not.
like literally, like, and I have such a high, like, getting my tattoos and my piercings has been my way of doing that. But like
Okay.
with art too, and I can actually, you know,
Right.
put stuff that I want on me, and
Yeah.
like that was kind of my, like, as I got older, that was like my
And you've inspired me, to be honest,
tattoos.
to get as many as I have. But
Yeah.
I have 7 now.
I have 13.
Because I've been around you, and
Yeah.
you're like, every time I see you, you have a new one, and I'm like,
That's
I want
like,
more.
God, when I get one, that's like my therapy. That's my
Yeah.
time to sit there and just have that pain, that stinging, and it's just over and over again, but then like it's like numb.
Right.
And that's just like, it's like my release. It's like my way of getting all my thoughts and everything, just they float away, and I just focus on that pain. And it's just, and that's why I love, when I got my really big one, it took like 7 hours on my thigh. I was like so into it. I was so happy.
Yeah.
For 7 hours, and like my ass was hurting so bad.
Right.
Because of the way that I was sitting, but I was loving every minute of it. Yeah. That's
great.
my therapy. But yeah, the kids at the schools, I have the wrists and stuff, and I just want to go and like hug them and just be like, dude, I'm here for you.
Do they open up? Do they say anything?
No one really has yet. They're just like, yeah, I'm okay. And you know,
And you know
but I
they're
mean, no, and you know that they're not, you know. And I mean, there was a girl that had one that was obviously all the way down her wrist, and it had been stitched. And Kelsie had one similar to that.
Yeah.
On hers.
Kelsie used to cut, right?
Oh yeah. She attempted suicide one time, and I mean, it was she had to go to the hospital. They, you know, psych ward and everything.
That's
and,
right.
But that girl at high school, she had one that was so big, and I just was like, God, like, I was like, no, you're too young. Like, don't feel like this. I hated it for them.
Yeah.
I hate that. Because I know it's hard, and high school is such a bitch.
Especially with social media now, it's 10 times worse.
Making,
I can only imagine.
Yeah, like the Saraha or whatever that app is, whatever.
Is
it
that
is.
where you send
anonymous
things?
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
like
fucked up.
Yik Yak was like
Yik
that
Yak
too.
was like that. I remember Yik
God,
Yak.
that can just mess up some kid's life.
Because you don't know who it is.
No, but they're gonna go out, and they're gonna go out of their way to make you feel like absolute shit.
And there's no reason for that fucking app.
Like, why?
There's no reason.
No. Whoever came up with that is an idiot and has no common sense.
And you know, my mom had told me there was a kid who my little brother knows this year. Maybe you know about this. Who killed himself. He had wrecked and killed himself on purpose. And his girlfriend had said they were texting and they were fighting. He's just a junior in high school, I guess. And he was driving, and the girlfriend was like, he was like, you need to stop texting me, like, I'm gonna wreck, like, I'm tired of fighting with you. And she was like, good, I hope you wreck, and like, I hope you kill yourself. Sure enough, he purposefully slammed off the road and killed himself in the car.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I didn't hear about that.
I didn't know about that either. And maybe we haven't heard about it because it was suicide.
I know, that's terrible.
You know, there's
you hear the stories that are just like stupid, or about drugs or something, but you never hear
about
anything
some kid getting arrested for child pornography. Sucks to suck. But just kidding, there's a guy that got arrested for it
that we went to high school with.
That we went to high school with.
Asshole.
Who used to call us fat. So
yeah.
This is a good outlet for
us. And now he's a crackhead, so
yeah. But like, there's people we don't hear about. I guess we didn't hear about it because it was suicide.
Yeah.
My mom was telling me about an 8-year-old that had killed himself, and you're 8 years old.
That's how old
my
niece
that's third
is.
grade. That's Alyssa.
Yeah. If she, oh my God, I cannot even imagine that.
So what do you think? So I think what you're doing, you know, talking to kids is just that simple. Are you okay? I'm here. You know,
like there's someone that's out there that cares about you enough to, you can talk to me. You know, right. You don't have to do this.
Right.
You know, there is a way out. There is a way to do this, like, right, to not, you know, harm yourself, you know, or...
Well, and a lot of times these kids are suffering from a mental illness. And
they have no idea, and no one cares enough to do anything about it.
And their parents don't care to take it seriously because they think, you're a kid. You're a kid.
That you don't, you know, it's just feelings, it's hormones.
It's hormones.
You know,
No, it's not hormones.
No, there's a chemical imbalance in my brain, and it's making me feel like I should just die.
And it's not normal.
It's not.
And that's the point, is kids need to be seeking
educated
help.
on,
They need to be educated, and
on
parents
ways to get help.
Yeah, everybody needs to be educated on these warning signs. Everybody's so worried about, bullying and violence and stuff. It is extremely important, and I obviously do an episode on that. But also there's kids that aren't being bullied and aren't violent and aren't a threat to other people that are harm to themselves, and they're going home every day, going straight to bed, not feeling a damn thing, or they're feeling everything at once. And it just shouldn't be that way. And you should be able to talk to your parents. You should be able to say, I don't feel okay.
There's something wrong.
There's
like,
something
I need
wrong.
Help.
And even if it's just self-esteem,
there's
therapy for that. There's ways to work around that. And with self-mutilation, and I know some kids that burn themselves. They don't cut, they burn themselves. And
my God.
And and I'm 22 years old, and I've
burned yourself with a heating pad.
Burned myself with a heating pad by accident. That happened earlier. I had a big bump on my back, and I was like, can you look at this? I burned myself from a freaking heating pad. But besides that,
only you.
But these kids, I think what's really important is they need to know, they need people, they need guidance counselors and people that are going to say, if you're cutting, it's not that it's okay, but it's okay to tell me. And that's why I really wish I could go to schools and just be like, I cut, I'm also successful, and I still at 22 don't feel right, and I still feel like I'm not good enough. I ran a business when I was 18. I've done this, I've done that, and I could sit there and go on and on about all these things that I've done that other people are going to consider successful. But at the back of my mind, I don't remember those things. In my darkest hour, when I'm cutting myself or I'm hurting myself, or
you're not thinking about all the good things in life.
I'm
you're
ready to
about
go.
Everything else,
right?
You're done. You're finished.
It's the end
of it.
Yeah, I literally, when I was trying to commit suicide this summer, I had made a point to my mom and everybody. I was like, no, you guys are going to be better off. Morgan can have all my money. Thomas can have my car. You won't have to worry about helping me financially. Like with my mom, all this stuff. And I literally came up with an entire list.
That's why with one of the people that I know who struggles with depression and stuff, he was telling me, I just don't, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live life anymore. And I was just like, I had to go into a little spiel with him, and I was just like, what if, a year down the line, you are married, you have a family, you're blissfully happy, but because of today, you took your life and you're going to miss out on this great life that you could have had. That's what I tell myself daily. Mm-hmm. That's why I've never, actually attempted suicide, because I tell myself every day, I'm going to miss out on a great life if I end it today. And that's not fair to my family either. It's just it's not fair to anybody that I've ever, spoken to or been, close to, or, family, friends, whatever. It's not fair for me to do that to them, because they do love me, and it might not always be so, it might not be shown as much as, you really want it to be. Right. But I mean, like I said, if you take your life today, you're going to miss out on a beautiful life. Your life could be absolutely amazing, and it might not, but there's that chance, that you could just have an amazing life and be incredibly, and you just throw it away. And that's what I told him. And I was just like, you have to, I tell myself that daily. And I was like, it's just a daily thing that I had to have that conversation with myself. You can't think like that. Yeah. And that's what's helped me a lot too. It's like I said, I mean, I don't take anything. It's a lot of just me working through it by myself and just kind of dealing. And I don't do it well. I won't say that works. If you need medication, take it. Trust me, because there's something out there that will help you. But for me, I could never find anything, or a doctor wouldn't want to give me what I think would help. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I just have to have a daily conversation with myself about how my day is going to go, and I'm not going to let it be a bad day, and I have to just work through it. Yeah. And that's what I've done thus far.
And it's not as simple as that, but it is as simple as that. You can't.
But you don't. But a lot of people, like you said, you don't think about that when you're in your darkest place.
And I hate that people think suicide is selfish, because if anything, when someone is committing suicide, they're thinking they're being selfless. They think they're doing everyone a favor,
absolutely.
and they're not. And people that get angry about people committing suicide, they're not selfish. They didn't say, well, I don't care what mom thinks and stuff. But no, they do care. They cared so much that they literally think that they weren't enough. And we got to change the school system. We got to change the education. We got to break this mental health stigma. And we have to, all of us, everyone involved in everything that I'm going to touch and do, because
if there's a way to help it, you need to do everything that you can to help that.
Yeah.
Because kids out there taking their lives because of something that could have been helped is just absolutely ridiculous.
Young kids.
It's sad. It is.
And listening to bad girlfriends saying kill yourself, or bad boyfriends.
God, those people are evil. Evil. But I mean, they have their own issues too. Everyone has some kind of issue,
And it's not bad to seek help.
No.
If you have a headache, you take ibuprofen. If you twist your ankle, you go to the doctor. Why don't we go to the doctor?
Why is mental illness not as important as other trivial little things?
Right, because everything begins with our brain.
With your brain.
And if you're not taking care of that, nothing else is going to work.
Nothing else is going to work. Nope.
And
Absolutely.
So the people that say, "Oh, go exercise," I hate those people. Yeah. I hate those people.
See, Camille could do that. She would do yoga, and that was like her happy place. And she, like, no.
Like, and meditation works for some people.
And I've tried. I have a whole book about it. Yeah. My mind. I'm too ADD. My mind goes.
Shut it off. I can't either. No. It doesn't work for me.
It keeps going. It's going a mile a minute.
I have to do 100 things for me to just turn off.
Yeah.
And then I take a hot bath, and then I burn myself on a heating pad, and then I go to sleep. And honestly, I think there's going to be a big change, and we have to break the stigma. There is no reason for a parent to bury their child. There's no reason for anyone to give up and kill themselves. And I think this is the first step we're taking to end that, because. And like I said, just you looking at kids going, "Are you okay?" You don't know how far that goes.
Yeah, I mean, that means a lot.
Right. And
if someone would have asked me if I was okay like that in, like high school when I was going through all of my issues, like, I would have just been like, no.
And you would have talked.
I'm not okay. Like, there's something, like, I can't do this. Like, physically, mentally, emotionally,
right.
I'm struggling.
I hate, so, living in LA, it's everyone's always just like, "Oh, what's up, how's it going, and I just want to be like, don't even ask that, because, and maybe I'm being insensitive, but it's like, when I'm living with bipolar day to day, with medication that doesn't work, and medication that makes me have to sleep 10 hours. It's tranquilizer, Seroquel. It's the worst. I'm not taking it anymore. But, taking things like that just knock me out.
That's no way to live at the same time.
It's so hard. And it's so hard being around people I can't talk to, and people that don't understand me. Yeah. And, being home just this week.
You have to have a support system.
Right. And I have Thomas. If you don't, then you're by
yourself, and it makes it 100 times worse.
Yeah, like I have people that care out there, but I don't have people that can come over and I don't have to explain myself.
Yeah, they just already know.
Yeah, like I went to a support group today with about 5-6 women, and I didn't know any of them. I knew 2 of them. I knew one of them from Facebook, and the other one I knew from other things. And they invited me to this support group about suicide prevention, and I have never felt more welcomed and understood and listened to. And I explained everything. I explained being bipolar to them, what it meant, and they listened and they cared, and they said, you being young is going to get through to young people, and young people are going to listen to young people, because
that's the only way.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen.
Especially in today's culture.
Yeah, like I'm not going to listen to some older person. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, you have different, struggles, daily struggles.
Right. Like, I'm not going to
you don't have children, you don't have grandchildren,
Right. So I don't understand that. And, if someone's saying, well, don't cut yourself. If I'm thinking 14-year-old Mackenzie, I would rather hear somebody who says, hey, I've cut myself. Don't you do that. And do you remember one time we were sitting in mass when we went to Catholic school together, like in high school, and we were sitting there and my arms were out. And you remember I looked at you and I said, I forgot what a normal arm looks like.
Yeah.
I remember telling you. You remember that?
We were like at the very top of the balcony and it was mass.
And your arm was, I was looking at your arm.
Yeah, you were looking at
clear.
mine and you were just like, I forgot what that looks like.
Because, and I mean,
I remember that so distinctly. I mean, since you said it,
I used to skip PE and just cut myself in the locker rooms. I mean, the whole story about me at your house, I'm just so thankful that I have a group of people that have known me my whole life and don't think anything less of me because I'm bipolar. And there are people out there that will love you.
Birthday and everything. Remember, I was here for your 22nd birthday.
And I lashed out.
And you just, you came out after me. And I was like, I don't know what I did. And I left here crying my eyes out because, you had left. And I was just, looking for my car keys. I could not find them. They were in the mud. The dog had to have, taken them or something.
Yeah.
And
you got the shit end of it.
I was just like, I don't know what I did to you to, deserve to be treated like that. And I told my mom, I was just like, tell her I love her and that I'm here.
And it was because we had just doubled my dose of Prozac.
Yeah.
And
that's not hard. I mean, that's not easy to, handle. And changing your dosage is a big deal.
And the next day, after my birthday party,
you packed up and went home.
No, I ended up not going home. I ended up going to my dad's house, and I found out how old my dad's wife is. And when I came and we drank, we got real drunk because that's the only way my dad knows how to communicate is to drink. Same. And me and Thomas came home, and I went in the bathtub, and that was the first time I had cut in 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And he was like, do I get your mom? And I was like, no. And then it was everything after that. It just
spiraled.
And then 2 weeks later, I was in the psych ward. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously we find out that Prozac is an antidepressant. I'm bipolar. You shouldn't be on an antidepressant. It throws you into mania. But we're going to end this shitty stigma that exists. And, sorry for the language, but that's what it is.
It is.
And we're going to make a difference because, I have been so discriminated and it just in LA there are people, and I told you this earlier, but I'm going to say this on the air. But there are people that are very close to my boyfriend who are concerned that I'm going to hurt my boyfriend and break his heart because, quote, I'm emotionally unstable. And that was after the bipolar diagnosis. And that pisses me off because I love my boyfriend more than anything in the world. I mean, one of the things I love more than anything in the world. I love a lot of things equally, but I do love him so much. And the fact that this person in his life is under the impression that
you're gonna ruin his, life
because I'm bipolar. That's like saying Thomas is gonna hurt me because Thomas has anxiety. Because Thomas has anxiety and he's a little OCD too. He will lock the door 5 times in a row and go back and pull and open the door, and then he'll call me and say, did I lock the door? I'm not kidding. It's just he does little things like that, so he thinks he's OCD. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose him, but he thinks that. And so it's like me saying, well, Tom's gonna hurt me because he has OCD. I have been discriminated against in my relationship, about my relationship, because of my diagnosis. And that's
insane.
That's absolutely bullshit. And I don't care who this person is in his life. I don't care how close they are. You're an asshole. You do not deserve, and even I had a friend, I think I've told you about him, my friend that I went to film school with. I'm not going to say his name, but I just whispered it. But There's one time it was the same thing. He just kept bugging me and saying some stuff, and then finally I was like, he wanted a pair of pants back or something. Those of you who are still listening, this is important. But he wanted his pants back, and I was like, well, you can talk to Thomas, I'm not home. And he was like, he called Thomas, and he said, I don't know how you put up with her. She's such a effing psycho. She's so psychotic, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, God. Thomas loves the fact that I'm psycho. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah.
But he understands you.
He's patient.
And very.
And I'm one of the lucky people that gets to go home to somebody that loves me and accepts me.
Although you have, your mental issues, that he still is willing to, like you said, be patient, and
that's all.
That's awesome.
And you know what?
It's not easy to find. Not everybody's as open to that.
I wish I could bring him here and have my life here, because I cannot get it any better than the people that live here. Yeah. All of my friends, you being one of them.
It's a support system. I mean, I know you have him there and, other friends there, but...
I'm so alone out there, though.
Yeah, but we've known you. I've known you for over half of our life, pretty much. So, I mean, I understand everything. Like, I know where you're coming from. I've seen it firsthand. I've watched you grow. I've watched, you suffer. Same with you as me. Like, you've watched me go through my things.
And you don't question it. You don't question me.
I never have. I mean, whenever everything happened with your birthday, we didn't talk for, God, I don't know, like, what, a few weeks, a month?
A few weeks, maybe. And then I think you texted me.
And I saw your video that on YouTube.
That's what it
popped up on my phone that you had uploaded about bipolar 2. And you explained it, and you apologized in that video to me. You didn't come out and say my name or anything, but you were like my friend who I was so mean to. And I was like, I know she's talking about me. And after that, I was just like, I still, and even when I left that day, I was like, I still love you. You're my best friend, and you always will be. And I understand that you're going through something, and I'm glad that you found out what it is, and I'm glad that, you're getting help, and, you're going through the right steps to do that. And I mean, after that, we started talking again, and then, it clicked, and we've been good ever since. I'm really glad.
It's hard. It's not easy being, and Kelsie, if Kelsie was bipolar, you get it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew she had to have been before she was diagnosed, because there's just little things that you kind of pick up on, like when they would come and visit or something, like for Thanksgiving, I think, she kept hitting me, like punching me, and I was just like, why do you keep, she was like, because I'm mad, and I was like, why? Like, I didn't understand at that point. I was just like, why are you so angry? It didn't make sense, really. And she was just like, just because. She was like, oh, God, I forget what she said. It was just it was so weird. But then she was like, fine, the next day.
Well, I mean, if you think of me, I remember how I would stay up all night, and I would come up with some crazy idea and film for 8 hours with you guys, and you guys would be like, all right, Mackenzie, let's go to bed. Like,
I'm tired now.
Yeah.
That was what we did every day after, like, in 5th and 6th grade. I'd come over after school, and
we'd film.
We would film after school.
We'd film newscasts.
Yeah. Tippy Tina and Petty Penny.
And just
all of those.
Crazy
that was like
sketches.
A sequel.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was bipolar, if that was creativity, but you remember I would stay up all night, and but I never really had that anger streak, but I have my irrational lash outs, like my birthday, and and thank you for being patient with me and loving me and understanding that even though I lashed out, I can say it's a lot of times when I lash out at people, it's very justified, and it comes from an honest place of me saying, like, no, what you did was wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I normally have a good head on my shoulders, but with you, and especially the people closest to me, that was irrational. It had no reason behind it other than you were the one on the phone right then and there, and I just chose to lash out at you.
Yeah.
And you didn't deserve that.
I think you said there was like one thing that I said that just like, I don't even remember what it was.
You said I don't even remember, but I remember you saying like typical Mackenzie, or here we go again. It was something like that. Here we go again, or something. But I just remember being like
ridiculous.
I just remember
why is that making you so mad?
It wasn't anything bad. You were like,
I was like, I didn't say it to be mean.
You were like, oh my God. It was something like, oh my God, Mackenzie, like, you always do that. It was like oh, here goes Mackenzie sort of thing.
And and that can set it off. And I know that probably.
Yeah, just because I was so.
You were already on edge.
Yeah, the night before I was crying to my mom saying, "Let's cancel this party. I don't want to see anybody."
Yeah.
But I love you, and I'm really glad you were on this podcast, and I hope that everybody who listened to it really enjoyed it. If you listened this whole time, I know it's a really long one, but that's the point. It's a podcast. But I there's so much that's about to happen. There's a documentary that's coming very soon, and if there's a certain topic, obviously this was kind of a free-handed thing. We didn't really focus on
everything.
Yeah, we really kind of touched on everything. We our past and growing up, and I felt like Kelsie was probably the best person to have come on the podcast because she probably knows me better than I know myself, and we've grown up together, so I think it was more than appropriate to have someone who knows me rather than me come on here by myself and talk your heads off for an hour. But but there are going to be
do it too.
Yeah, and I will do it, and you guys know I will. But there's going to be more, and if you guys have a certain topic that you would like to cover, like for me to cover with someone, whether that's anxiety, generalized anxiety, OCD, things like that, please message me because I'm down to cover it. And there's going to be a documentary coming soon about suicide prevention, and it's going to be awesome. And I really I'm really glad that I've started this podcast, and I'm really glad that Kelsie came on. And with everything, the thing is we are going to be doing multiple episodes on anxiety, because anxiety, in my opinion, is one of the most broad spectrum disorders. There's social anxiety. There's so many different things that people experience. So we will be covering that. And we'll have special episodes on suicide and people that have lost to suicide. And let us know if you want to hear Kelsie come back on, because she's probably the easiest person to talk to.
Yeah.
And she's chill, and she listens, and she has great things to say. So, do you want to add anything else?
Don't put me on the spot.
I think that's it. But thank you guys so much for listening, and definitely let us know what you think. And if you disagree with some stuff we've said, or you have a debate, let us know. Yeah, because we'll get back on here. And you can comment below and let us know what you think, or send us a message, and I would say I was going to see you in the next video, but honestly, you will hear me in the next podcast. So thank you, Kelsie, for coming on.
Thank you.
Yay. I'm not going to put in sound effects. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening. Oh my God, I'm so bad at this. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.